to the Product Owner Podcast. This is the second episode. This time we actually have a video here, which is why I'm looking at you. But if I'm not looking at you and you're just listening or cannot find the video, then obviously we were not satisfied with the results yet, and we'll keep improving and working on it. For this episode we have a great product owner here, which is Patrick de Groot from Politie.nl. And he's going to share with us his tips and tricks and experiences as a product owner on a large, one of the biggest, I think, public websites in the Netherlands. But it's not for me to talk about this. This is for Patrick. So please introduce yourself for us. So who is Patrick?
Thank you.
And then after that we go into the Agile and product owner stuff.
Yeah. Thanks. I'm, like you said, the product owner of Politie.nl and the Dutch Police Internet Services. We have a couple of websites, but with Politie.nl we won the Best Website Award of 2015 and 2016, which is pretty unique because we're the first government website that wins this award, and we're only the second company that wins the award 2 times in a row, so that's pretty unique. I'm the product owner of that since 3.5 years. And before that I was implementing the Dutch social media strategy for the Dutch police. I've been working with the Dutch police since 1999, and I've been working on the emergency unit and as a beat cop, so I've got a lot of experience within the police force. Yeah.
Okay. Where did you work as a beat cop?
In Rotterdam, and before that in Dordrecht.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're familiar with the bigger cities and the bit smaller communities alike?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. How do you bring that experience as a street cop or beat cop, as you name it yourself, that's the correct English term, I guess, to being a product owner for a website? Can you?
Well, I think it's really important to know the company you work for as a product owner, because you know the stakeholders, the way they think about policing. Being a beat cop, you also know the public you're working for. You know what they expect of the police, so that helps you when you work as a product owner and prioritize your stories and epics. Yeah.
Cool. That's very nice to have on board. Okay, so now we know a little bit more about you. But let's zoom in on how you became a product owner, because going from a beat cop, working on the street, maybe experimenting with Twitter, some social media you told us about, how did the step happen that you actually became a product owner?
Well, that's an interesting one.
Are you allowed to talk about this, or is this secret police stuff?
Sure, no, I can talk about that. It's not that secret. No, in 2011 I started experimenting with social media within the policing, and we found that you have 9 terrains or 9 domains that you can use social media within the police, and we made a strategy for that so the whole Dutch police could use it. So while I was doing that, I came into contact with the program leader of the Dutch Internet Services. And he was looking for a product owner, someone who really knew the Dutch police from inside, knew a little bit about strategy, and had the same shared vision as I had. Because I think when you use social media or internet sites, that you really have to know the public you're working for, because it's an interaction between that. And I was very interested in his vision that he was having for the Dutch website, because he really thinks that the Dutch public should be involved in creating the website, because they have to use it eventually. So that's the way he asked me if I wanted to come to a job interview, which actually lasted about 5 minutes, and then I got the job. So yeah.
Okay, so actually everything was already, as we say in Dutch, in kannen en kruiken, predetermined. Yeah. Just a handshake and sign the contract, probably.
Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah, very nice. It's always good to find people who have the same shared drive and vision. But this vision, that's very interesting, I think, to share with the audience. You mentioned already a bit the vision that the Dutch public should be involved in creating the website. How did this affect your role as a product owner? What did you do to give feet to this vision, so to speak, and get the ball rolling? Who did you involve, or what did you do yourself? Can you explain a bit more about that?
Well, it's not only me that is creating the website, it's me and my team. I got a couple of colleagues that have pretty good ideas about how you could get the public involved. One of the examples is there is this mobile media lab, which is a big truck with a, I don't know how you call it, but people can come to that truck and then we'll do a little A/B testing and things like that. We'll ask them how they use the website, why they come to the website for the Dutch police. Because why would you go to the website in the first place? You really need to know that if you want to prioritize your functionalities. So there are a couple of examples how we do that. Of course, you have your internal stakeholders, because we also want to share something with the public. For example, the people we're looking for, suspects and things like that. We really want to ask the public to help us find suspects. But then you need to know what the public needs to know to help us find them. And the only way you can find it out is by asking them. So we go into the country with a truck, we put it in different places, in the big cities, in the smaller cities, and that really helps us.
Yeah. And this dialogue with the public, did you use this mainly to start, or is this a continuous process? What kind of things do you, as a product owner, most get out of it to help you?
It's a continuous process. We got a UX designer that gives shape to the research we do. And with the feedback, we have a sort of a feedback loop. It's not really there yet, but we're getting there. And we use the feedback loop to continually improve the website.
Yeah, you mentioned the feedback loop and the website. I can imagine there's more to the feedback loop than just the mobile media lab and the tests you do there with users. Yeah,
like I said, it's not really in place yet. We have a feedback form on the website that we use. Sometimes we just ask people to come to Zeist, where we work, to give feedback on the websites. We did that with disabled people, so we have a website that's pretty good to use for the disabled. So we have several things in place to improve our website with using the public. Yeah.
Okay, very nice. We actually went quite seamlessly into the topic of stakeholder management, which is very nice, because I think this is one of the most important topics for product owners. Full disclosure, we did this talk kind of before at a different employer for me. With a live audience, and then we also talked about the topic of saying no, which is also very important in stakeholder management, because if you want to commit to certain features, building them right, you have to also prioritize, and that means saying no a lot of times to a lot of people all the time. And I remember that you said then that this is the most important quality of a product owner. Now you said stakeholder management, which is kind of the same, maybe, but how do you see that in the broader topic of stakeholder management, saying no? How do you do it, and what is your advice for other product owners struggling with this?
Well, if you say no a lot, your yes creates more value. So that's why it's important to say no.
Yeah.
One of the things that you have to keep in mind is that if you say no, you have to prove why you say no. That's have everything to do with business value. For the project I work in, with the website we work with, it's a little bit different. We work Scrum Agile. As a product owner, I can prioritize, but we work Scrum Agile in a Prince environment. I always say, because we work with project initiation documents, we have a board that has to improve changes, things like that. That has everything to do with budget. I don't want people to get to use this podcast who fall asleep, so I won't go into that. But because we have a set goal in the start of the year, it makes it easier for me as product owner to say no, and that has everything to do with the program management that can support your no if necessary.
Yes.
My experience is that most of the time it's not necessary because I can explain the business value of the things we do. And the support of our feedback loop. I use the support of the feedback loop a lot to explain why there is business value in a certain functionality.
Yeah, and why in others not, so you can say no.
Yeah.
You also use it to help stakeholders get to a yes. For instance, they come to you and you think, well, this might not be a priority now, but if they have a good case, we might be able to slip it into the
of course.
The scope.
Yeah, it's agile, so you have to be a little flexible with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, and, I have a lot of discussion with my UX designer because a lot of times he comes with a lot of cool stuff, and of course he wants to improve the site on cool stuff and etc. But sometimes he can convince me of doing some things that will improve the website because he has data to back that up. You have to use all those kind of things to determine the business value of a functionality. And if you have that, then your yes would be easier to explain to your stakeholders, and the no to another stakeholder is easier to explain as well.
Yeah, that's very good. And I want to observe 2 points you make here, because one, team members are stakeholders too.
Absolutely.
Which is kind of important, and not everyone realizes this. And the other is, you mentioned business value. Do you also have a system in place that you assign business value to the backlog, or is it for you more a conversation you have and a feeling you can act on, plotted in time, maybe related to the project initiation document you refer to? How do you use this?
No, business value is a feeling. I use it as a feeling, and I try to explain to my stakeholders why I do certain stuff, and I don't use the word business value a lot. If you can explain the value to a certain product, then you don't need to use the word. Business value is a little abstract, and you don't want to have that into a discussion.
Yeah.
So.
Otherwise, you have to give an agile training while you're having the discussion.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Oh, that's good to know. That's very nice. Let me think about the other topics we're going to discuss. I think we have some topics already in place now. In your introduction, you mentioned the vision of the person that hired you, getting the public in. But as we know in the agile way of working, the vision breaks down in smaller parts until you have workable items you can build in sprints.
Yeah.
So there's a way of breakdown, and I think the vision you talked about is so big that there's no concrete steps in there yet. So how do you determine the let's say epics or scope for half a year, for example, and then go down into story level?
Well, it's a little. The moment we are talking about this, we are in a transition to the SAFe model. So the things I was used to do is going to change a little bit into the future. But like we used to do it, is that I invited the stakeholders for a certain epic. I put them in a room together with my team, and we had how'd you call that? A walking skeleton session. So we tried to break down the epic into stories, the user stories, and then I'll have the stakeholder determine which is this minimal valuable product. And if you know that, then you can put down your stories on the backlog and work on it. That's basically what we do.
Okay, so for getting from the epic to the user story level, the sprintable items, if you will, you use this walking skeleton session, which I will put a link to in the notes, so people can look it up, which is very valuable in my opinion. This is a good thing to do, especially because you get the stakeholders to think about priority and get a real good discussion about it. I
really want to let them think about what they're asking. For me, it's also important to get the right stakeholder in the room. Sometimes you work with a representative of a stakeholder, and they think in solutions, and you don't want to develop solutions, you want to solve a problem. And there's a difference there. So,
and we especially see this in people who are already active in the software industry or have experience with it. They think in solutions because they know about developing software. But sometimes it's even better to work with people who know nothing about software, but just about the things they need to support their job. Yeah, so this is a very good observation, and it's good to have in the back of your mind when looking at stakeholders and stakeholder representatives, I think. So then we have the from epic level you mentioned to the sprint. There also happens something between the top level vision, which is servicing the Dutch public in crime fighting and prevention, I think, and these epics. And I guess these epics are in the half-year plans, the project initiation documents somewhat. Are you also involved in which epics or themes are relevant in digital crime fighting, tracking? I don't know what the English word is for it. The Dutch word is opsporingscommunicatie.
Well, that's one of the epics we have. Yes, I'm involved. We have a project leader because, like I said, we work a little bit different in a print environment. So you have to have a project leader that takes care of the administration stuff and everything.
So you don't have to bother about it.
Exactly. You're laughing about it, but he's really important, though. If you don't have that, then you have a lot of weight around your waist that you don't really need to have there. You don't want to worry about that. So. That gives me time to focus on stakeholders. He also takes care of implementation, by the way, so I don't have to worry about that as much as well. So, but what I do is that the stakeholders that I invite give me an idea about the epics that we need to do. And when we're discussing like the next half year, I'll talk to my project leader, I'll talk to my program manager, and I'll tell them that the business wants this epic or that epic done. And of course I can feel about the urgency of some kind of epic because I know what the public wants and I know what my stakeholder wants. And then you come back to business value.
That's very nice. So it's not like the rest of the company decides something, you get a project initiation document, and you have to work with the epics that someone else decides. You get a lot of influence.
Yeah, like and the projects in the initiation documents we provide are not to that. How did you say that? They're not really on that level of small items.
No.
It's really high over.
Yeah. So you've made sure that even though you have to work in this environment with projects and start and stop phases and whatever, budgeting, that they support the agile way of working for the team and for you with the stakeholders actually, by keeping them vague.
Exactly.
Okay, that's very good. There's one thing that rung my mind. When you just said the project leader is also responsible for the was it the delivery part or the implementation part? What did you mean by that?
Well, I'll give you an example. It explains a little bit about what I was saying as well. One of the visions is that as a police we wanted a website for young people. We have Politie.nl, which is a website especially for people between a certain age till 25. And you can ask the police about anything you would like that has something to do with youth. If we when we developed the website, we did that for the public, for the young people in the Netherlands. But you also need a mind shift within the organization because you need to talk on a different level. If you don't take care of that, then we're basically building a next Politie.nl with the same old people stuff on there.
Only a young design.
Exactly. So it's very important to take care of that business part within the organization, that you have the right people that can work with the website, that can do stuff with it. that we have a chat channel on there, so people can chat. I know it's like back to 2008, but we know the public would like to have that, so it's on the website.
Yeah, for government organizations, it's still quite.
I didn't have to worry about the beat cops that can use the chat. The project leader took care of that. So.
That's very nice. So he helps also to have for the success of the project within the operation.
Yeah. So I basically have to worry about the functionality, the business value, minimal valuable product, and as soon as the product is done, the organization is ready to accept it. I don't have to worry about that.
Oh, that's very nice. Yeah. Does this also include like the delivery of the software to the public? Because when you develop, you do that internally often. Then you have certain steps before you do a software release. How is that for Politie.nl? And maybe also explain how it helps you to be agile. So how often do you release? How quickly can you bring stuff to the public? And how does this help you or the police?
The release we have is every 2 weeks. We have a technical team that takes care of the release. In the last 2 years we went from a 6-week release to a 2-week release. And now we're in a transition to release story-based. So we're really going to a DevOps situation in the future.
Yeah, with continuous delivery.
Yeah, exactly. So that helps me to be agile as well. If there's some, like for an example, the MH17 flight that came down, we had some issues with the website because we wanted to, for Ukrainian people and Russian people to understand the website as well, and we didn't have anything in place for that. So we had to really scale up, and within 2 to 4 weeks we had functionality and the website ready for the Ukraine and for Russia to use the website. So it really makes you agile, and as a police force I think you really need that because you never know what is happening outside. You really need to be agile, so that's good.
Yeah, and especially if you're working to improve that even, to have story-based releasing, which means that if something's finished you can push that to the public. So then you could have a response time of even a few days.
Exactly.
Oh wow, that's great. Very nice. Okay, and have you noticed any difference in the way you work with the backlog or with your stakeholders when going, for instance, from the 6-week window to the 2-week release schedule? Because it should improve your agility. Maybe stuff became easier, or you had to work harder because you had more to figure out every time.
Well, it makes you more agile if you stick to your agile meetings. Those are really important. And if your release process is speeding up, you really need to stick to those meetings because they will improve the way you work as well. I'm a firm believer that if you really stick to your agile or Scrum Agile meetings, you can be more agile. It sounds a little crazy though, but it does that for us.
Yeah, so the structure of the meetings, having this set structure of Scrum, helps you maintain agility because you continuously keep selecting the top priorities and discussing with the team and keep your eye on
through technicalities. How'd you say that? You can improve yourself as a team as well pretty quick. If you miss some kind of expertise in your team, you can put that in there, things like that.
Okay, that's very cool. And do you also have experience, for instance, when you had, everyone has sometimes a period in his job, we not often like to admit it, but when stuff happens and you sort of lose grip, it becomes a bit too much, and then you have to make choices, maybe skip a few meetings or take a short emergency break. Do you have experience like that where you lost a bit the grip and then had to deal with the consequences because the focus of the team became less and stuff like that? Do you have that kind of experience, or was it all
I have to say no now.
Sunshine and rainbows all the time?
Of course. You really want to work with the Dutch police because of that.
Dutch police is all sunshine and rainbows. No, but this is the interesting stuff for people to learn from, of course.
Yeah.
Because
well, of course,
maybe,
you run into sometimes you run into a speed bump. You have to deal with it when it happens. It's hard to give some sort of manual to deal with that.
Of course, but maybe a small example. For instance, you missed a meeting.
Yeah, of course. Sometimes I miss meetings. For example, if I'm with a stakeholder and I'm not with the meeting, what we implemented, I'm not saying it well, but is Google. We use Google Hangouts. So if I skip a meeting, no matter where I am, I can always call in and tell my team what I'm expecting and what they're expecting from me and stuff like that. Of course, we have other artifacts that helps us stay in touch with each other. So, but you have to experience those speed bumps to get a solution for it. But that's one of the examples we had. Another example is that we were almost cut off our project halfway 2015, I believe. I'm not sure. And then you have a team that's not really motivated. I don't have an example of how you could motivate them again, except for giving them the message that we could continue, of course. But that's just the stuff you have to deal with. And I think it's to the product owner itself, and it defines a good product owner and the less good product owners, how you deal with that.
Yeah, and obviously you're not alone in this. In your case, especially not because you have the program manager and the project leader, but also a Scrum Master.
Yeah.
Sometimes multiple Scrum Masters if you have multiple teams and a big enterprise. So how did you experience, for instance, the balance between your role, maybe having the vision and motivating people through the job they could still do in the time they had, and the opportunity to prolong their job. But how did you interact with the Scrum Master in this? Because you had the vision.
Yeah.
Probably Scrum Master had some other stuff he used to motivate.
Of course. Well, what we do is we have POSM meetings, a Product Owner Scrum Master meeting, in which we discuss these kinds of things. Try to, if there's something we need to solve, then who's going to do that, and we talk over stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay, and then
try to
is there a reason you scheduled a meeting for it, or because? Yeah,
well, really, it connects like all my comments about the agile meetings that you have to do. POSM is really important as well, I guess.
Yeah.
And of course, you don't have to put a scheduled meeting, because I could call at 6 in the evening and we have a discussion as well, of course. But it helps you be proactive on some issues.
Okay. Well, that's a very nice tip, I think, to foster the collaboration between the product owner and the Scrum Master, to also make a rhythm out of it, I guess, just like with the other meetings. That's very nice. So are there maybe other topics that you would like to tell us about, other examples you can share? I know we recently in Holland had a bit of a thing with racial profiling, where I think, I'm not sure, the website and also the app, which is connected to each other, reacted quite quickly to it. Yeah. Did you play a role in that, and how did you experience that process?
No, that wasn't really my role, because the police app has its own product owner.
Okay.
But watching it from a distance, I saw the same thing happen as what we did. They talked to the right stakeholder. They didn't go for a solution, but tried to solve the problem. Of course, there were little set functionalities that had to be in there, but that you have to deal with as a product owner as well. But the fact that you work Scrum Agile gives you the opportunity to react to such a thing in society and react quick.
Yeah, of which this was a nice example.
Yeah,
albeit not for you as a product owner, but you
especially
were
for
close to it,
government,
right?
especially for government,
Yes.
because I think we had a real quick solution. I think within 2 or 3 months. If I wasn't really involved with the project, but that's what I saw. So
because this was in the app,
police app,
right,
yeah,
and not on the website.
Yeah,
So you probably
exactly.
had some news articles about this, but that's just
functionality is in the app, and
yeah,
the news app,
exactly. Yeah. Okay, that's a very nice example. Are there other stuff you can share with us about things other product owners might find useful, like certain? You mentioned the story map, right?
Yeah,
Which is something you like to use.
story mapping, walking skeleton. Yeah.
The walking skeleton, that kind of stuff. You mentioned the minimum viable product. Are there other concepts or tools that you would like to highlight for other product
Well,
owners?
I think as a product owner, it's really important to stay connected with your team. The most important people in your team is a UX designer and a business analyst.
Those are closest to you.
Yeah, the closest to me.
Yeah.
Because they will talk me through the functionality, so I can make a better decision on if it's worth building it or not. Another important thing is that you have enough mandate from the organization to make decisions. Like I said, we have a program manager. He's my direct link to the organization financially. So if there's a stakeholder that wants kind of stuff, so I'll go to him and ask if it's okay to build within that epic. He'll take it to the board and everything, but so I don't have to worry about that. But so it's really important that you have mandate enough to work on an epic.
Because you cannot make these decisions on your own, but there has to be some level of decision you can make on your own. Otherwise, you cannot be agile.
That's it.
And what would you say this level is? Can you give an example of a decision that you can make on your own, and one that you maybe regretted that you made on your own, or know that you cannot?
Well, an example is that for Vragen to Politie, like I said, for 2017, they really want extra functionality. They want to refine the chat functionality, for example, because there are things to improve. But business value-wise, it works. They can do with it what they wanted in the first place. So there's not a lot of urgency to fix that. And I can decide whether or not we're going to do that. If I couldn't decide that, somebody in the organization would step up and make me do it. Unfortunately, that's not the thing right now. So that kind of mandate you need to have as a product owner as well.
Yeah. And do you sometimes have problems with people going to your program manager because you said no?
Yeah.
And how is your interaction with your program manager? Because you have to be like really close to.
Well, most of the times
draw the same line, like parents,
most of the times we have the same vision, but sometimes we have to do stuff that he wants. Yeah, of course.
Okay, so this happens sometimes, but not too often, I hope. Otherwise, you
No,
wouldn't have won awards and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, that's also good to know. Is there other stuff you want to share?
No, not really. I think we talked about most of the things that I wanted to share. I think what makes you a successful product owner is that you really have a feeling with your stakeholders, know who they are. You can talk to them. You be honest with them. Honesty is key, I think. And of course, realize whose functionality it is, and talk to them as well. In our case, that's the public. And I really wanted to involve the public with the website so I can make the right decisions and tell my stakeholders that we're making the right decisions, that we are creating business value.
Yes.
And in my case, I have a pretty good data set because we got like 2.5 million visitors a month. So I have a good analysis on what the website is used for.
Yeah, that's also good to mention, the reach of the website. Yeah. Okay, that's very nice. Well then, let me finish by thanking you for all your honest stories. I hope I didn't put you too much in the spot at times, but I think this was very useful for the product owners watching or listening to this podcast or vodcast. And I hope you continue winning awards in the future, obviously. Whether it be at Politie.nl or other product ownerships, you never know.
Never know.
So to round off, if people want to know more about you or get in contact with you, maybe know about speaking engagements or whether you'll be at the town square with the mobile media lab, whatever, where can people reach and find you?
Well, they can find me on LinkedIn or Twitter. I think we'll put the account on the podcast somewhere.
Just say your Twitter name, it's fine.
Yeah, okay. My Twitter name is Paddy Legrand, or Legrand. And you can always email me on my police account with patrick.de.groot@politie.nl.
Okay.
People can email me there if they want to. And if you want to follow the Mobile Media Lab, they've got a Twitter account as well, @Mobile Media Lab. You can reach me through there as well. So
okay, yeah, we'll obviously also put this in the show notes, but I really wanted to hear how you deal with the Paddy Legrand Twitter handle, which is a cool French wordplay. Mm-hmm. We should have done this in French.
Maybe next time.
Yeah, maybe next time. Okay.
Take a course first. Yeah,
yeah, me too.
Oui.
Okay, so once again, thank you. If people want to know more, read the show notes or use the info we put forth. And the last podcast, me and Kai, who was the first product owner I interviewed, said goodbye together. And I think because we have video here, we should like wave with it or something. I don't know. Let's roll with it. So let's count it off and just say goodbye.
All right.
Yeah? Okay. 3, 2, 1.
All right.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.